After two heavy-hitting Fizzarolli-themed episodes, the next few appear to return to the story of Blitz, particularly the story of Blitz and Stolas, which has felt largely on pause to a lot of fans this season. Let's talk about what might happen in this episode, particularly how the Asmodeus and Fizzarolli plot may affect how Blitz approaches his relationship with Stolas. But real quick, some of you guys really love ImpCut, so I had our thumbnail artist slap together a cool t-shirt design for him called Demonic Cartoon Detective. Link is in the pinned comment down below, and for those of you who want to be a demonic cartoon detective, but also hate me, you can get the shirt with the text and no ImpCut. Now, earlier this year, VivziePop put out a tweet with the episode titles for the remainder of Season 2, and we can learn a lot about what will happen in the next episode, not just from its own title, but from the others as well. The title of the next episode is called Full Moon, which has special significance to the relationship of Blitz and Stolas. You guys all know at this point that Stolas is in love with Blitz, but Blitz, at the very least, is playing very hard to get, but more so acts like he hates Stolas entirely. This led to Stolas establishing their arrangement where they have one night of adult fun together every month, at which point Stolas gets his grimoire back to perform his Goetia ceremonies for the full moon. This is rarely seen in the show itself, with us mostly seeing a glimpse of it in episode 5 before Stolas invites Blitz to attend the Harvest Moon Festival with him. However, in the deeper fandom, this is also the time of the month when we, in real life, would generally get an update on Stolas or Blitz's Instagram accounts run by the Helluva boss crew. These are not canon accounts, and I've actually fumbled and misinterpreted what aspects were meant to be seen as canon and which ones were not meant to. But for this video, the important thing is to just note that little instances of Blitz and Stolas hanging out on the full moon can be seen there, some more adult looking and others just them enjoying time together like watching a movie. Now, normally, the two seem to have a pretty okay time. Blitz doesn't seem to be loving it when we see him with Stolas in episode 5, but he doesn't seem to be hating it either, and even accepts Stolas' invitation to join them for the Harvest Moon Festival. The big problem, of course, is that in episode 7 of season 1, the two had a bit of conflict when Asmodeus wrote off their relationship as Stolas giving up his life for kinky carnal pleasure. Stolas, of course, clearly loves Blitz, even if it is a complicated feeling, but Blitz is unable to recognize that. He has always been treated like a low-class imp, and it's easy to see how he might think of himself as someone that other species of demon simply cannot love. In episode 6 of season 2, Blitz has a talk with Fizz about their relationship when they get kidnapped, and Blitz insists that no royal demon could ever truly care about either of them, and would only ever pretend to like them in order to lead them on. Something about this makes me feel like Blitz has another love story that he isn't telling us about yet. Before this, he did date Verosika and seemed to have a weird relationship with her, but she did get his name tattooed on her, and there is a real pain in the animation of her singing about how he abandoned her. Blitz himself even seems to feel genuinely bad about it looking back. It would seem to me that Verosika treated Blitz perhaps better than she should have, and that Blitz had deeper issues that he used to self-sabotage his relationship with her the same way he's doing with Stolas. Verosika, like Stolas, seemed to have deep feelings for Blitz, but Blitz was convinced that some elite pop star like her could never actually love him, and was just using him until she got what she wanted out of him, which was simply to slum it. The only other real love interest Blitz seemed to have before this was, of course, Fizzarolli, though they never actually dated. As kids, they seemed to be just friends, but as they got older, Blitz would even write a love letter to confess his feelings to Fizz before the tragic accident that caused Fizzarolli to become burned and broken. Fizz, however, wasn't some elite demon. He was more famous than Blitz, but that didn't seem to be what stopped their relationship from happening. And if Blitz believed that Fizz could never love him the way he believed that Stolas couldn't love him, I think that would have been more alluded to when Blitz complains directly to Fizz about Stolas. Instead, Blitz's fixation on the idea that he can't be loved by these elites seems to come from some traumatic relationship after the circus with an elite demon, or is something just hammered into his head from his life as an imp overall, but it feels like there has to be a piece of the puzzle missing here. Regardless of how Blitz got this idea in his head, this seems to be what has ruined his perception of Stolas. While they weren't getting as close as Stolas would have liked leading up to that night as Ozzy's, their relationship had taken some strides forward, but with Ozzy himself insisting that Stolas threw his entire life away just to chase a carnal rush, Blitz can't help but pull away from Stolas and believe that this can't end well. Finally, this new episode will bring us to their first night back together after the drama at Ozzy's, but it's going to be even more tense than just them dealing with the fallout of that night. Since then, Stolas has been kidnapped by Stryker, and while Blitz kept his distance from the situation to focus on his daughter Luna, his mindset had a dramatic shift when Stolas was rushed to the hospital for nearly being killed by angelic weapons. I believe this moment reminded Blitz of his own sister, who in the next episode we would see was staying at a rehab center in the Sloth Ring. With her having known substance abuse issues, I believe she nearly overdosed, and Blitz probably thought she was going to die as he watched her get rushed to the hospital. This would make Blitz have his moment of sadness where he reached out to Stolas, still not giving him quite a full message, but showing that he does care. This would give Blitz very conflicting feelings. Until now, Blitz had thought Stolas was immortal, and while he thought Stolas was incapable of loving him, he did seem to notice that he can play as hard to get as he wants, and Stolas would still chase after him, even if it was only to do the dirty deed as Blitz wanted to assume. He saw Stolas as an immortal demon so powerful that he couldn't hurt him, and in fact what Stolas originally thought was Blitz's kinky play was actually him trying to hurt and tie up Stolas so that he could steal the grimoire. Blitz saw Stolas as someone who can take pain and still not run away from him, whereas everyone else Blitz does his best to be as close to as possible and shower them with love, and they push him away. Blitz therefore saw Stolas as someone he could just not be physically aggressive with, but emotionally aggressive with as well. The more angry Blitz got, the more endeared Stolas would act to compensate, letting Blitz explore just how far Stolas is willing to go for him. He believed that he could push Stolas as far as he wanted and Stolas would never leave him, and if he did, it would only prove that Blitz was right about Stolas and that he never really loved him, and that all he really wants is that carnal pleasure, and for that carnal pleasure, Blitz can push him as far as he wants. Seeing Stolas nearly dead, however, Blitz realizes not just that Stolas could die and be hurt, but that he could hurt Stolas in many ways himself, emotionally, and ruining Stolas' life simply by being a part of it with their arrangement. This created a fear, it seems, and Blitz decided he didn't want to push Stolas away anymore, even though he did think that Stolas would give up on him eventually. This is an almost contradictory psychology that only makes sense in the mind of a character like Blitz, where we know that he so tragically wants something, but can't admit it to himself. Which, even without the missing piece of why he is so determined to believe that the royals can't love low-class imps, still seems to layer perfectly into his character. When Blitz first realizes that Asmodeus and Fizz are in a true relationship, this makes Blitz call them hypocrites, but over time, it can change the way he thinks of Stolas as well. Fizz indicated he really did feel happy with the life he got and the love he has, and after seeing them being lovey-dovey in person, Blitz may start to look at Stolas in a different way, seeing how the dynamic can work with even greater royals than Stolas, like Ozzy himself. And after a few awkward moments of Blitz and Stolas being all mumbly but kind of into each other this season, I think this episode could focus on Blitz and Stolas both trying painfully hard to make their dynamic work. And in fact, I think it might start with an apology from Blitz. Blitz recently learned the power of making amends with Fizzarolli, and it's already come back to him in a big way. After escaping from Crimson with Fizz, it seemed like Fizz and Blitz were going to keep having space between them despite making amends, but episode 7 had Blitz being invited back into Fizz's life by the Prince of Lust himself, who previously was willing to screw Stolas over in order to not help Blitz on Fizz's behalf. The next episode after Full Moon is called Apology Tour, which many fans have long assumed would involve Blitz going on an apology tour across hell, trying to make amends with everyone in his past, and it going generally horribly wrong. However, having it go right for him just one more time might be the push Blitz needs to make that episode work. After making things right with Fizz, Blitz could try again, awkwardly, not thinking it would go well, but of course with someone like Stolas, even a bad apology would be worth a lot, especially since Stolas doesn't really see Blitz as having done anything wrong. In return for an apology of sorts, I think Blitz will get the Osmodian crystal from Stolas, something he was planning to give Blitz anyways, but something that makes Blitz realize that having a healthy relationship with people can lead to healthy outcomes. This will give him the space to do his business without feeling like he's under Stolas' thumb, but it also gives them the chance to keep seeing each other more naturally outside of that and figure out where their dynamic is going. And more importantly, it gives Blitz the perspective to see that things can be made right if he tries. But of course, I expect that to go horribly wrong, and for Blitz to make things worse with most people on his apology tour. But for more information on that, check out the video on the left where I break down in detail what I think's gonna happen in that episode. And don't forget to check out the demonic cartoon detective t-shirts, link in the pinned comment down below.